Come on.
That's the face of a
Probably.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with the sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Noted.
Thanks.
It was unexpected. No warning, no promo, just Rachel alone on Instagram Live.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
No filter, no glam, just a trembling voice and glassy eyes.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
What started as a quiet, vulnerable moment quickly turned into one of the most raw, emotionally charged celebrity breakdowns we've seen this year. And while Rachel didn't name anyone directly, she didn't have to. Between the sniffles and half sentences, she spoke of feeling betrayed by someone I worked with, abandoned, and blamed for things that were never in her control. Her voice cracked as she said, "There's so much I wish I could say, but I know I can't." The live lasted less than 10 minutes, but in that time, over 200,000 people tuned in. Clips went viral within minutes, and comments flooded in with one name, Gal Gadot. Why? Because just hours before, Gal had done her own interview, and fans say, that was the final push that broke Rachel down.
Their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince, and that she falls in love as opposed to leaning into her own power. We could go on.
Earlier that same day, Gal Gadot sat down for a press interview. The topic? Snow White, of course. But when the host asked her about her relationship with Rachel Zegler and the public reaction to the film, Gal gave the kind of answer that says everything without saying anything. She smiled, nodded, and said, "I'm proud of the work I did. I was honored to play the evil queen. I enjoyed working with many wonderful people on this project."
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
No mention of Rachel, no co-lead, no she was amazing, nothing. And when pressed on whether she and Rachel still speak, sometimes it's best to let the past stay where it is. I wish everyone well. That's Hollywood code for, don't ask me about her again. It was classy, professional, and absolutely ice cold. The timing couldn't have been worse. Gal's clip hit Twitter. Fans started dissecting every word, and by nightfall, Rachel was crying on live. And the
when
message,
people watched it originally
whatever
in
was behind the
1937 in the
scenes,
theaters, it was an amazing
wasn't
experience
getting
because
fixed
for most
anytime
people
soon.
it was the first color movie. But second of all, people had so connected emotionally with the character of Snow White that when she eats from the apple and she dies, people were literally weeping in the theater because they liked the character of Snow White so much.
Let's be honest, this has been building for months. The warning signs were all there. Rachel's tribute post that excluded Gal completely, no joint interviews on major press stops, red carpet distance. The two always staged apart, never. Posing together, Gal refusing to speak about Rachel directly, even in behind-the-scenes featurettes. And now fans are saying what everyone's been thinking. This wasn't just bad chemistry. It was a full-on silent feud. Insiders have confirmed that Rachel and Gal barely spoke on set outside of scenes. Disney reportedly had to schedule press separately, with Rachel handling digital spots and Gal taking international press. Rumors even claim Gal turned down the opportunity to film extra promotional content for Disney Plus after test screenings bombed. But now, the gloves are off, and Rachel's breakdown felt like the moment she stopped trying to hold it in.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off.
During the live, Rachel tried not to cry, but she couldn't stop. She said people who could have said something didn't, and instead, they just smiled for the cameras. She added, "I never expected to be left alone like this." She never named Gal, but fans connected the dots. Fast, commenters flooded the stream saying things like, "Is she talking about Gal? This feels like a breakup." The queen said good luck and peaced out. But beyond the gossip, what hit hardest was the tone. Rachel wasn't defensive. She wasn't angry. She was exhausted. And that exhaustion was the loudest message of all.
No offense to anyone. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
You better believe Disney saw this coming. And not only did they see it, babe, they tried to cover it. Multiple reports from inside the studio now confirm that the tension between Rachel and Gal had been brewing for over a year, even while the film was still in post-production. According to sources close to the PR team, executives were warned that the leads were not aligned in press tone or public energy. Translation? They weren't speaking. They weren't collaborating. They weren't even pretending to get along. But what did Disney do? They split the press tour. Gal handled the international markets and prestige interviews, high glam, high control, few surprises. Rachel was given TikTok sound bites, fan-forward clips, and red carpets that ended in meme-worthy quotes. That divide? It wasn't random. It was strategy. Disney allegedly knew the two stars had clashing styles, not just in personality, but in how they viewed the film. Rachel was outspoken, passionate, reactive. Gal, controlled, curated, and completely done with the drama. Internally, staff reportedly started calling it the dual princess dilemma, because on paper, they were co-leads. But in reality, it was 2 films, 2 performances, 2 agendas, and no fairy tale ending in sight.
And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story, don't change the character.
Now, let's be real. Whether you love her or not, Rachel Zegler has been carrying this film's press cycle entirely alone, at least in the public eye. Ever since early backlash from her controversial interviews, she's been the headline, scapegoat, the defender, the villain, and the target. Every viral moment, Rachel. Every misquoted comment, Rachel. Every fan boycott, comment section war, or red carpet meme. All tied to her, and all while Gal stayed silent. And look, silence is a strategy, a powerful one, but it's also what pushed every single ounce of the backlash onto Rachel's shoulders. The girl couldn't sneeze in an interview without getting roasted for it. Meanwhile, Gal was praised for being graceful, mature, and above it all. Rachel's breakdown didn't come out of nowhere. It came after weeks of social media hate, a brutally negative press cycle, her co-star ghosting the narrative, and Disney leaving her to deal with it solo. So when she said, on IG Live, through tears, it's up really hard to do your best when everyone expects you to smile through being ignored, it wasn't about one interview. It was about months of isolation. This wasn't petty drama. This was the weight of a collapsing film sitting on one actress's back.
And so it was like
Those people.
very much this, yes. It
Yeah,
was this
people that we
awakening
need
of-
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
love them in the right direction.
Let's break down Gal's position in all of this. Because whether you think she was cold, classy, or calculating, one thing is clear, she knew exactly what she was doing. Gal has been in the business long enough to understand what happens when controversy erupts. And her approach? Minimize the risk. Stay neutral. Keep it clean. She did the red carpets. She smiled for the cameras. But she never said Rachel's name, never co-signed the girl power messaging, never stepped into the fire. Instead, she let Rachel become the lightning rod and kept her own image pristine. Insiders say Gal's team refused to let her participate in damage control interviews. When asked about the feud, Gal gave vague answers like, I had a beautiful experience, and I'm grateful for the people I worked with. It's giving, don't drag me into this mess. And it worked. Rachel is getting flamed in the comments. Gal getting praised for her elegance and professionalism. Zero backlash, zero risk, all queen energy. Say what you want, but that's PR genius.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
What's wild is how quickly public opinion shifted again after the IG Live. Before the stream, the internet was roasting Rachel over everything. Her interviews, the box office flop, her so-called attitude, even her laugh. But after seeing her cry on camera, break down mid-sentence, struggle to form words, people started to look deeper. Comments started popping up like, okay, this isn't drama, this is someone reaching their limit. She didn't deserve to be the only one carrying this film. Gal left her hanging. Period. The narrative shifted from Rachel ruined Snow White to why didn't anyone help her? And even people who had dragged her weeks before were suddenly saying, okay, wait, maybe we got this all wrong. Because when a woman gets torn apart online for months and breaks down crying on camera, that's not just bad PR, that's a mental health moment, a public one. And even the coldest fans started asking, Where was the support?
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Here's the brutal truth no one wants to say out loud. Rachel's breakdown didn't just come at an emotional cost, it might have come at a career one too. Sources in casting and PR circles are already whispering that Rachel Zegler has entered caution territory in Hollywood. Not because she's untalented, not because she's unbankable, but because she's now viewed as PR sensitive. Translation, she attracts too much heat, and studios don't want to babysit another press disaster. Let's not forget, before Snow White, Rachel was set to be the new face of modern fairy tales. She had West Side Story under Spielberg. She had leading lady buzz. She had a fan base, a look, a voice, a future. But now, the internet is flooded with headlines linking her name to the word flop. Clips of her interviews are played for laughs. That IG Live, as raw and real as it was, has become a reference point in a larger narrative that says, this girl can't carry a franchise. And in Hollywood, perception is everything. Insiders say one major project she was loosely attached to is now reconsidering Tone Fit. Another brand collab, reportedly iced. And even agencies are quietly asking whether the online negativity is worth the risk. That's the fallout of this kind of public breakdown. It humanizes her? Yes, but it also gives studios cold feet.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
Now compare that to Gal Gadot, who has said barely a word through this entire mess and is now, somehow, coming out of it looking more polished than ever. While Rachel was trending for breakdowns, Gal was trending for her red carpet looks. While one cried on camera, the other gave a flawless interview, sipping tea, saying nothing, and keeping all the power. But here's the thing. Gal's silence isn't passive. It's intentional. Her team has crafted a brand around not engaging in drama, and that's how she maintains longevity. She plays the villain on screen, but off screen, she's untouchable. According to insiders, Gal has already pivoted her, focused to a new prestige role, one that distances her completely from the Snow White chaos. She's lining up Oscar bait scripts, high-end fashion campaigns, and 0 talk show appearances that could rehash the feud. Even when asked about the live breakdown, Gal's team reportedly declined all interview follow-ups. That's not avoidance. That's control. And now, she's emerging not only unscathed, but elevated. Like this drama never touched her at all. Queen behavior.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie.
Of course, Disney's not about to let their two princesses publicly tear each other apart without stepping in, but girl, the studio's response? So weak, it's laughable. After the IG Live went viral and Gal's "I wish everyone well" clip started trending, Disney released a generic, sanitized statement saying they were proud of the entire Snow White cast and the powerful women leading the film's journey. No names, no mention of the viral feud, just vague girl power buzzwords wrapped in a PR band-aid. They want the public to believe everything is fine. They want the press to drop the feud angle. They want to gaslight the audience into thinking it was all a misunderstanding. But fans aren't buying it. Not for a second. The clips are everywhere. The distance on red carpets, the side comments in interviews, the breakdown, the snub, it's all too real. And now, Disney's credibility is just as questioned as the film itself. Because when you push the strong female lead narrative and then leave your lead actress alone in the fire, the audience notices. And worse, they remember.
Every single white male is a piece of shit, and the woman is the hero, and all authority is bad, and all business is bad, but government is good as social. And most people don't know what they're watching. She, unfortunately, sort of pulled the curtain back and people knew exactly what was going on.
If you thought the internet was done after the breakdown, think again. Because this drama has officially become a fan war, and both sides are fighting like it's the season finale of a reality show. Team Rachel says she was left unsupported, unfairly blamed, and emotionally abandoned by a co-star who should have had her back. They say she's young, learning, and was carrying a film that fell apart before she ever had a chance. Team Gal says she played it smart, that she kept things professional, didn't drag anyone, and refused to participate in the chaos. They say Rachel created her own storm, and Gal was right to step away from it. And then there's a third group, the ones who aren't picking sides at all. They're just asking, why did Disney put these two women in this position in the first place? Because the real feud might not be between Rachel and Gal. It might be between Hollywood's obsession with repackaging legacy content and the women left holding the PR bags when it all goes wrong.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Let's be real, Hollywood loves a comeback story, but it also loves to watch a rising star crash and burn. And right now, Rachel Zegler is teetering on the edge of both. Her tearful IG Live stirred up sympathy, sure, but it also cemented the idea that she's now a symbol of everything that went wrong with Snow White. Fair or not, she's now the face of a film that bombed critically, flopped at the box office, divided audiences, and sparked a behind-the-scenes feud Disney couldn't keep hidden, and the industry has already taken notice. Agents are reportedly warning studios to proceed with caution when attaching her to high-profile IP. One source claims that a major fantasy series Rachel was in talks for has cooled considerably since the You Won't Press tour drama, not because of talent, but because of the optics. Publicly, she has the support of her fans. But that might not be enough if the machine behind her starts to hesitate. Could she bounce back? Absolutely. But she'll need a clean, emotionally powerful indie role to reframe her narrative, a break from fairy tales and fantasy IPs, and at least one public moment where she shows growth, clarity, and calm leadership. Because right now, she's still seen as reactionary. What she needs to be seen as resilient.
The people who you need to entertain, the people who you need to serve, the people who pay your salary.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Gal won this round. She stayed out of the drama, kept her head down, gave carefully curated interviews, and never, not once, let the scandal touch her. Her reputation, still intact. Her brand, stronger than ever. Her future, wide open. But here's the thing. In choosing silence, Gal also became part of the problem. She didn't defend Rachel. She didn't offer unity. She didn't even offer basic acknowledgement. And while fans love her chill vibe and villain chic, there's a growing group, especially among younger viewers, who are asking, if Gal is the queen, why didn't she lead like one? There's no denying her control is admirable, but her refusal to engage might one day come back around if the industry decides it's too cold, too distant, because as powerful as she looks now, that silence was noticed, and the internet never forgets.
Everyone is serving me, man. It's just her going, we need to no, you don't need. It's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain.
If there's one player that comes out of this story looking worse than both actresses, it's Disney. They had two high-profile stars, a globally beloved IP, and every opportunity to build a modern fairy tale franchise. Instead, they fumbled every piece of it, letting the feud fester behind the scenes, ignoring early signs of public backlash splitting press in a way that created obvious distance, and then refusing to support Rachel once the hate began, and now they're left with a lead actress in emotional crisis, a co-star who won't play ball, a film that's been removed from theaters, and a brand new generation of fans who no longer trust them. Reports say Disney is already reviewing Snow White's long-term future. Rumors of a spin-off series? Quietly shelved, sequel talks, dead, park tie-ins, canceled before they even got a merch rollout. The biggest question now is, do they recast and reboot again in 5 years? Or do they admit defeat and let Snow White rest forever? Either way, they've got a long road ahead, and no glass slipper big enough to fix it.
A video of herself in a theater. Maybe I think she bought that ticket right there. Please, enjoy.
When you strip away the crowns, the costumes, the castles, this story was never really about a fairy tale. It was about two women put on opposite sides of a PR war, a studio that left them both unprotected, and an audience that watched the implosion happen in real time. Rachel's tears weren't just about Gal's cold answer. They were about months of carrying a story she no longer believed in, while everyone around her smiled, posed, and kept it cute. Gal's silence wasn't just a strategy, it was a choice to protect her power, her image, and her distance. No matter what happened to the person standing next to her on the poster. And Disney, they built the narrative, then walked away when it fell apart. This is what happens when marketing replaces heart, when brand messaging replaces storytelling, and when studios expect women, especially young women, to take the hits for corporate decisions they didn't make. This wasn't a fairy tale, it was a chessboard, and we just watched two queens get played.
Cheering for herself.
All right, babe. Now it's your turn. Was Rachel Zegler unfairly thrown under the bus? Was Gal Gadot too cold? Did Disney fail both of them? Or was this just the inevitable crash of a reboot that never should have been made? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The bold ones, the unfiltered ones, the ones they don't want you to say, because this story is far from over. The cameras are off, the lights are down, but the fallout still happening in real time. And if you want more truth, more tea, and more breakdowns of the drama they try to hide, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell, because this wasn't a behind-the-scenes feud, it was a royal unraveling, and the kingdom may never recover.